I'm Frank Trigg, and I'm fighting Jim Wallhead in Bamma 7 on Saturday night. Who is Frank Trigg? I don't know, just some guy. That's a tough question to answer. I'm not, I'm the guy who lives in my own skin every day, so it's tough to answer because I don't think I'm anybody special. Just another guy who gets up every day that trains and comes home every afternoon to do 4th grade and 5th grade homework and cooks dinner every night for his family. That's all. I don't particularly enjoy fights. They go to standings. That's not my forte. My forte is wrestling, even though I do have a lot of finishes by KO or TKO. But if you watch those fights, they're from me grinding them out, putting weight on them, putting pressure on them, punching on the break, punching on the clinch, kicking on the break, elbowing on the clinch. That puts a lot of heat on guys. And that's one of the things that Tim tries to do with me is he tries to get me to constantly be punching, and then Neil works on constantly trying to wrestle. So it's a big game between the two. I don't, like I said, I don't particularly prefer it to be on the feet. It's just where the fights start, and if I can punch a guy a couple times before I take him down, it's all the better. It actually softens him up before I hit the ground. So when I do have to hit him, I don't have to do as much work.
I do all of his stand-up. I do his boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai. You can call it what you want, but I do all his stand-up fighting. A lot of people want to put a name on it, but I've done everything standing up on my feet, for about 30 years. So I've been doing it for a while. So everything he does standing up, that's what I'm helping him with. Man, he just looks great. It's always nice to see somebody go through the waves of training, and then the week before the fight, everything feel great. And I'm 100% confident as a coach. I see it in his eyes. I see it in his movement. He's very confident. His sparring's been going great. He's had some good knockouts in this camp, and I couldn't be more happy with him right now.
Yeah, I'm in way better shape now. Because remember, we anticipated being a 5-round title fight with Tom Watson, so we had to do a lot more work in the very beginning of camp. My camps used to run 8 weeks. Now they kind of run like 12 weeks. So the first 6 weeks of my camp we were concentrating only on Tom Watson before they made the opponent change to Jim Wallhead. So I was in really good shape for 6 weeks out of a fight before we got the opponent change. So, and then we just kind of kept with that plan, but instead of training for 5 rounds, we started training for 3 rounds. That was the only real adjustment. Everything else was the same. The Muay Thai practices were the same, the wrestling and jiu-jitsu practices were the same, my strength and conditioning practices were the same. What we did is that we shortened the time and upped the intensity, because people would think that a title fight you'd have more intensity in it, but it's a lot longer. So it's a game of explosion and rest that you do within 5 rounds. In a 3-rounder, you can just kind of go as hard as you can. So that's what a lot of it was, trying to push you and trying to make you go as hard as you can, so we'd adjust that scale a little bit. But then everything else was the same. So I actually got in better shape because I started in better shape. The first 6 weeks, I'm really concentrating on a 5-rounder for 25 minutes. Then all of a sudden, we get the last 6 weeks, we're concentrating on a 3-rounder, but that first 6 weeks got me in great shape because we're anticipating the extra 2 rounds, and we didn't have them. So I'm in a lot better shape than even for Bamma 6.
You might see a little bit more striking. Jim Wallhead, if he stands up, you see a lot of stuff we've been working on. You didn't get to see too much of that last time with John because it ended pretty fast. They got in the clinch, went on the ground. John is not well versed on the ground, but this guy is well versed on the ground. So you may see a good stand-up fight. You may see a good ground fight. You never know. So I believe you see more striking though. I want the fight to end with Frank's hand being raised. Doesn't matter how it happens. I believe Frank is hungry, and Jim Wallhead is a tough guy. And I think anybody who wants to be tough against Frank, you need to be slick against Frank. If you want to be tough against Frank, it's going to be a rough night for you.
Everyone's asking me like, how important is the title? It's not. To me, it's just another belt or another trophy or another plaque that's going to go stuck in my closet. I have tons and tons of them from all my years of competing from the time I was basically 12 until now. And I've got tons of awards and tons of stuff. And some of the stuff I'm really proud of, and some of the stuff I'm not so proud of, and it just kind of sits in the closet. I'm not one of those guys that says, "Look at me" all the time, So for me, the title or the belt is a bonus upon the fight, because the original fight with Tom Watson was very interesting to me. He's a very big guy. He's probably the biggest 85-pounder I've ever fought. So he'd be the biggest guy I've ever fought in my whole career. He's very good on his feet. He's very strong. He's very, a lot of people look at him and go, he's very one-dimensional, but that's like saying, Chuck Liddell's one-dimensional or Randy Couture's one-dimensional. They're one-dimensional because they stop you with everything else that they know. Where Tom he's going to beat me up on my feet if I can't take him to the ground. And a lot of people are like, well, you can't take him to the ground because he's so good at his takedown defense, which he's working on in Greg Jackson's academy. He's going to be very difficult to take down. He's going to be very hard to beat on his feet. So it's a game of cat and mouse and trying to play and pick my space. So a fight against Watson is very interesting to me. Getting the belt as part of it is just a bonus. It's not really, I'm not really on the title hunt per se, as I am interesting fights and fighting guys that I respect and like. You know, I know a lot of guys say, oh, you got to hate a guy to fight him, but I'm not like that. I like, there's guys I like and I respect in the fight. It's the same thing why I had a mini retirement where I was done with the sport and I sat on the couch for 8 months and drank 2 bottles of wine a night and ate a whole chicken every night and just blew up to 2:30. And I get a phone call by TJ Thompson over in Hawaii. He's like, hey, come fight Jason Miller. And Jason Miller's a guy I've always respected. And I went and I beat him up. I got beat the crap out of him. And it was great because I got to beat a guy that I really want to fight, that I thought was a great competitor. He always brings the game to you. And that's kind of the same thing I had with Tom Watson. I want to go out there like, he's a guy that's always going to bring it. He's a nice guy. You know, I have nothing bad to say about him at all. He's a sweet guy, but, you know, he's young, you know, and really hasn't been challenged. That was going to be his first big challenge, but he's also was going to challenge me in his size. Then he switched over and gave me Judo Jimmy Wallhead, and he's, man, he's a totally different guy. He's a totally different opponent, but dangerous in his own right. Has great overhand right power, has great hooking power. So it's it's that whole game. And now I heard tell that the winner of this fight is going to challenge for the title against Tom.
Bamma 7, September 10th in Birmingham, England. Frank Trigg will be fighting Jim Wallhead, and he will be doing the same thing he did last time, which is a devastating fashion. We'll be making some noise. I hope his buddy Cuba Gooding is there again, because I know he likes the fights. He's going to see. It's going to be nasty. It's going to be nice. Tune in, people, because it's going to be live. Frank Trigg will cut you up with the elbows and put you to sleep, and you can think he's nice, but when the bell rings, it's over. Jim Wallhead should expect to see the doctor after the fight. That's what he should expect.
I was kind of upset the way that I finished Phillips because it wasn't a decisive end at Bamma 6. It was one of those, I elbowed him, it was a big cut. He could have continued to fight. I mean, he was mentally aware and physically able to continue to fight. The gash was just so big in his forehead that he had to stop it. I don't like stopping fights that way. I want to have a definitive finish. Knock him out, TKO him, put him in a submission, make him tap, black him all the way out. Like, I want a definitive finish in the fight. So that was disappointing. But the way we approach training camps now here at Couture's in Vegas, now that Randy is retired, and even though he's tremendously busy, I mean, he right now just got back from filming his movie Hijacked, which will be in theaters, sometime later next year, and he came home for 2 days, and he had to go to New Mexico to film a hunting show, and then he has to go to Colorado for a day, or up to Oregon for a day for a couple days to see his son. He's going to go to Colorado for a couple of days to check out one of his houses. I mean, the kid he's tremendously busy, but he still has time enough to call me once a week and check on how camp is going and to go over the game plan. So in between takes on his movie set, he's looking at film of my fight. And because of his retirement, he's able to spend a little bit more time paying attention and helping you game plan. Because of our game plan pace now, it looks easy because we spent so much time and work working on the game plan and sticking to it and believing in the game plan. I said earlier that Tim I'm mindless when I go in there. Once I step inside the cage and they lock the door and I'm doing mitts with Tim and I'm doing rest or jiu-jitsu and with Neil Mellison, it's mindless for me because I'm doing as I'm told. It's so that I can believe in the training camp. I can believe in the game plan we have set for the fight and stick to it no matter what happens. We get a hiccup. You get punched. He throws something else we're not used to seeing. He takes us down. He's got a submission on us. We battle out the submission. We battle out the takedown, and we get right back to the game plan. And there's always 7 layers of the game plan. But you can go from layer 7 to layer 2, layer 1 to layer 3, and you can jump around. But you got to know all 7 layers. And so when you kind of get through the layers, you just keep bouncing back and forth until the fight finishes. With Phillips, I got through layer 2 and the fight was done, which was kind of upsetting because I had 5 more layers to get to, but also too, you can't really complain because you only got to layer 2, there's 5 more sets left to go and we still finished early. So that's a nice feeling, but I don't think it's gonna go like that with Wallhead. He's a lot tougher opponent. Not a lot tougher, excuse me, I misspoke. He's not tougher, he's different. He has a different game plan, he has a different set of skills that he brings to the fight. So because of his skill set that he brings to the fight, it's gonna be a lot more difficult to finish him as quickly as I did with Phillips, but that's just because it's my style versus his style. It makes it more difficult. But if I was, like when Phillips and Watson fought many years ago and it went to a decision, but I don't think the Watson fight and I is going to go to a decision. I don't think the Phillips fight and I was going to make it to a decision either, and it didn't. It ended up that way. So it's pretty good. But I always like to have a definitive finish to those fights, like a definite, this fight's done, as opposed to doctor stepped in. I was like, it's not as satisfactory as it is making the guy go to sleep or making him tell you he quits.